Sylvia had always dreamed of becoming a mother. It was her deepest wish, one that kept her hopeful even through years of waiting and heartbreak. When her son, William, was finally born, it felt like a miracle. Her heart overflowed with love, and she promised herself she would give him everything he needed to be happy. Her husband Daniel was also thrilled to be a father, but his work often kept him away from home. He had long hours at the office, leaving Sylvia and William to spend most of their time together. This gave them a unique bond, one that Sylvia cherished deeply. She adored the way William depended on her, how his little eyes lit up when she walked into the room, and how he always reached for her hand. As William grew, their bond only deepened. By the time he was 3, Sylvia noticed that William was more attached to her than other children were to their mothers. He never seemed interested in playing with the other kids of his age. Instead, he followed her everywhere, clinging to her wrapper and begging for her attention. As the days went by, William's attachment grew stronger. One evening, while Sylvia was playing with him in their bedroom, the maid came in to take William for his bath. The moment she approached, William clung tightly to Sylvia and cried out, "Mommy, I don't want her to bathe me. She always pinches me." Sylvia's face darkened. "She does what?" she asked, anger flaring in her voice. The maid looked startled. "Madam, that's not true. He's lying." "How dare you call my son a liar?" Sylvia snapped. "Get out of my sight. I don't want to see you here tomorrow." The maid tried to protest, but Sylvia wouldn't listen. From that day on, she took over William's baths herself. This small act became part of their routine, further strengthening their already close relationship. As time went on, their bond became even more intense. When Daniel was away on business trips, William would sleep in the bed with Sylvia. They did everything together, from shopping at the market to watching TV at home. One day, while Sylvia was taking a shower, William knocked on the door and asked if he could join her. Without a second thought, she let him in, thinking it was perfectly normal. From then on, they often bathed together, something Miriam saw as innocent and loving. However, as William grew older, his behavior started to raise concerns. He often pointed to parts of Sylvia's body and asked curious questions. "Mama, why do you have 2 oranges there?" he asked one day, pointing at her chest. Miriam laughed it off, thinking he was just a curious and intelligent child. One day, Daniel's mother, Rose, came to visit. She immediately noticed how unusually close Sylvia and William were. She watched as William hovered around Sylvia, refusing to leave her side, and saw how they interacted. "What is this I'm seeing?" Rose asked, her voice filled with concern. "Seeing what, Mom?" Sylvia replied, surprised. "You shower with your son? Do you realize the danger in this?" "Mom, he's just a child," Sylvia said defensively. "He doesn't even know the difference between right and wrong." Rose shook her head. "You are spoiling this child. This is not right. Don't do something you'll regret later," she warned. From the living room, Daniel chimed in. "Mom, I'm tired of talking about this." But Sylvia refused to listen. To her, everything she did for William was out of love, and she couldn't see anything wrong with their closeness. "You shower with your son? Do you realize the danger in this?" "Mom, he's just a child. He doesn't even know the difference between right and wrong," Sylvia replied defensively. "You are spoiling this child. This is wrong. Don't do something you will regret," Rose warned. From the living room, Sylvia's husband, Daniel, chimed in. "Mom, tell her. I'm tired of talking." By the time William turned 15, the innocent attachment that once seemed harmless had morphed into something disturbing. William was no longer the shy boy who clung to his mother. He had become bold, aggressive, and territorial, especially when it came to Miriam. His teachers often complained about his behavior, particularly toward male staff. He challenged their authority, talked back, and even fought them. "He's just strong-willed." Sylvia dismissed each report, ignoring the red flags. William's possessiveness escalated. He began following his mother everywhere, whether to the supermarket or private meetings, glaring at anyone who spoke to her for too long. One day, their neighbor, Mr. Jones, casually remarked, "Oh, you look so adorable today, Sylvia." Sylvia's expression darkened. Before anyone could react, he lunged at Mr. Jones, shoving him against the wall. "Don't ever talk to her like that," he shouted. Daniel rushed to intervene, pulling William away. "What is wrong with you?" he yelled. That night, Daniel confronted Sylvia. "Can you see it now? This boy is not acting like your son. He's acting like a man fighting for his wife. He's just protective of me, Miriam insisted. It's not as serious as you're making it. It is serious. Daniel slammed the table. He needs discipline, and you need to stop coddling him. But Sylvia refused to listen. Instead, she deepened her bond with William. When he began bringing her flowers and calling her my queen, she laughed, praising him for being sweet. Daniel grew increasingly frustrated. His warnings were ignored, and he felt powerless. At 15, William was curious about everything, especially about women. Sylvia often caught him staring at her with a look that burned deeper than mere admiration. When they were alone, he'd casually comment on her body, laughing off what seemed like innocent jokes. But Sylvia felt a flutter of nerves each time. The situation worsened when one afternoon, while Sylvia was cleaning, William entered her room, holding a small notebook. He looked nervous and quickly tried to hide it. "What's that, William?" Sylvia asked, her curiosity piqued. He shrugged, refusing to engage further. Sylvia's heart raced, sensing something wasn't right. Later, while organizing his room, Sylvia found the notebook tucked under his bed. Her hands trembled as she flipped through its pages, finding his secret thoughts, words of desire and love that made her cheeks flush. William had written about how he adored her, how no one could compare to her. It was filled with obsessive writings about her. One entry read, "My queen. No one can take her from me. I'll get rid of my father one day, so I can spend the rest of my life with you." Conflicted, Sylvia confronted William. "You have some interesting thoughts in this notebook," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. He stammered, "It's just how I feel, Mom. It doesn't mean anything." But the tension hung in the air, thick and palpable. After some weeks, William's feelings became harder to ignore. Their conversations danced around unspoken desires, and Sylvia felt a mix of fear and excitement. One evening, while they sat on the couch, William looked at her with intensity. "Mom, you're beautiful. I can't help but feel this connection between us." William confessed his feelings. "Mama, I love you," he said softly. "Of course you do," she replied nervously. "I'm your mother." "No, Mama, it's more than that. You're the only woman I've ever loved," William revealed. Sylvia froze in shock. "What are you saying?" she stammered. Sylvia felt her heart quicken. "William, that's not something we should talk about," she replied, but her voice lacked conviction. Deep down, a part of her couldn't deny the spark that existed. But William wasn't backing down. "Why do you keep pushing me away? I love you more than anyone else. Can't you see that?" His eyes were searching for hers, filled with something raw and powerful. "Love is complicated," Sylvia whispered, feeling the electric charge between them. "We can't cross those lines." Yet part of her wondered what it would be like to give in to that desire. As time passed, their encounters became heavier with unspoken words. Every brush of William's hand against her arm sent shivers down Sylvia's spine. One night, as they sat close together watching a movie, William leaned in and whispered, "What if we let ourselves feel more? Just for a moment." Sylvia's breath itched in her throat. Could they? They thought, both frightened and excited her. "We can't do this. It's so wrong." But William smiled, a mischievous glint in his eye. "I'm not a little boy anymore, Mom. I understand my feelings." He moved closer, the warmth of his body radiating against hers. In that moment, Sylvia felt trapped between her role as a mother and the woman she once was, full of desire. "William, we need to be careful. This is also risky." Yet, fear still lingered in the back of her mind. "William, you need to think about the consequences. What will your dad say or do?" William brushed his fingers lightly against her cheek. "Let's not think about that right now," he coaxed, drawing her in closer. "Just feel." The air between them thickened with longing, their breaths mingling. It was as if the world outside vanished, leaving only the two of them and the heat of their connection. Sylvia knew they were treading dangerous ground, but as William leaned in, she felt a surge of wild excitement. As William leaned in closer, Sylvia's heart raced. The undeniable chemistry between them sparked with electricity, urging her to give in to desire. "William," she breathed, torn between caution and longing. But William's gaze was intense, filled with a passion that set her aflame. "Just for tonight, let's forget everything else," he whispered, his voice low and inviting. The moment hung in the air, thick with tension, as Sylvia's resolve began to crumble. Before she could think further, William pressed his lips against hers. It was soft at first, a gentle exploration that sent waves of warmth through her body. Sylvia hesitated, but the taste of him, the sweetness of that moment, ignited a fire within her. She melted into the kiss, feeling the urgency of their connection pull her deeper into their secret world. William wrapped his arms around her, pulling her closer as the kiss deepened. Sylvia felt her heart race as she surrendered to the moment, her hands moving to his hair, feeling its softness as she lost herself in the warmth of his embrace. It was intoxicating, a forbidden thrill that both exhilarated and terrified her. "Mom, this feels right," William murmured against her lips, his breath warm and inviting. "I want to be close to you, in every way." His words ignited a fire of desire that coursed through her veins, pushing away all reason. They spent that night lost in each other, their affection bubbling over as they explored this new terrain. William's hands traced down Sylvia's sides, sending shivers through her body, igniting the passion she had buried for so long. They shared heated whispers and soft laughter, confined within the cocoon of their sanctuary, her home. As the sun began to rise, illuminating the room with a soft glow, reality crashed in. They lay tangled together, a wild mix of limbs and flushed skin, hearts still racing from their night of passion. Sylvia's mind raced with conflicting emotions, joint attained with guilt, exhilaration mixed with panic. "William, what have we done?" she murmured, brushing a hand through his hair as she tried to process their actions. This can't happen again." But William pulled her closer, tightening his hold. "It feels so right, Mom. Why can't we have this?" His eyes searched hers, hoping for a sign of acceptance. "We can't. This is wrong, William. We need to be careful." "Your father," she murmured. "Forget him." William interrupted, his voice strong. "This is about us, not him. I love you." The weight of his words hung in the air, both terrifying and thrilling. Sylvia's heart ached. She felt the gravity of their actions as a plea for something more emotional and physical intimacy entwined. Though they had crossed an irreversible line, a part of her rejoiced in this newfound connection, this passionate dance. Days turned into a continuation of secret encounters. They sneaked moments into shadows, exchanging whispers of endearment and soft kisses when no one was watching. Every stolen moment filled them with exhilaration and a sense of danger that only grew their desire. Even in public, a simple brush of their hands would send flutters of excitement between them. Sylvia felt exhilarated being seen and desired by William, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years. Their love blossomed in the secrecy of their stolen moments, a garden of affection hidden from prying eyes. But with each encounter, the reality of their situation pressed harder against Sylvia's conscience. She loved William deeply but was constantly aware of the consequences. Guilt kept creeping in, reminding her of the lines they had blurred, the rules they had broken. One evening, as they cuddled in the safety of her room, William broke the silence. "Can't we just be happy, Mom? Just you and me?" His eyes sparkled with hope, innocence mixed with an undeniable longing. Sylvia's heart twisted. "I want to, William, but what if someone finds out? What if your father or someone else notices?" "We'll be careful. Just promise me you won't shut me out," he pleaded, his voice soft and honest. That look in his eyes was melting away her restraint. "I need you, Mom, more than anything," William whispered, leaning in to kiss her again, igniting the heat between them anew. Sylvia felt her walls crumbling as she responded to him, drawn into the intimacy of their connection. With William by her side, amidst the passion and affection, there was a thrilling sense of freedom, a world where their love could thrive despite societal expectations. As they tangled together once more, Sylvia surrendered to the pull of their bond, knowing that their love would forever be a secret. As the weeks passed, William and Sylvia reveled in their passionate secret. Every moment together felt like a beautiful fantasy, but the shadows of their reality lingered close behind. They took every precaution to hide their relationship, sharing longing glances when Daniel was around, exchanging whispered secrets when he wasn't. However, secrets have a way of clawing their way into the light, and it wasn't long before the tension began to crack. One afternoon, as they sat in Sylvia's room, wrapped in each other's arms, the door creaked open. It was Daniel, unexpectedly returning home early. "What the hell is going on here?" Daniel's voice boomed, freezing Sylvia and William in place. Sylvia's heart raced, panic coursing through her veins. William quickly jumped to his feet, unconcerned by his father's anger. "Dad, it's not what you think," he protested, his voice steady but laced with urgency. Daniel stepped further into the room, a look of incredulity washing over his face. "Not what I think. You're in bed with your mother. This is disgusting." His gaze shifted from William to Sylvia, betrayal etching lines of fury across his features. "Please, Daniel, let's talk about this," Sylvia pleaded, rising to her feet as well. She felt exposed, vulnerable, yet a fierce protectiveness for William awakened within her. William stood his ground. "No, Dad, you need to understand. I love her. There's nothing wrong with how we feel for each other." Daniel shook his head, disbelief in his eyes. "You're a kid, William. You don't know what love is. You're confused. This isn't real." William's fist clenched at his sides. "I'm not confused. I'm not a child anymore. What we share is real." He felt anger surge within him, fighting against the storm of emotions threatening to overwhelm him. "Stop this, both of you," Daniel shouted, his voice trembling with authority. "You're ruining everything. How will people look at me in this family?" Sylvia stepped closer to William, instinctively reaching for his hand. "Daniel, please listen to him." But Daniel interrupted. "No. This is wrong on so many levels. You've betrayed me, Sylvia." His face darkened, the pain evident in his expression. "I trusted you to be a mother first. How could you do this?" William saw the hurt in his father's face and felt a pang of guilt. "I didn't ask for this to happen, Dad," he shouted defiantly. "Mom and we didn't choose to feel this way. But we do. You can't take that away from us." His words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of love and conviction. In that moment, William knew he had to fight for what they had built together, even against his own father. "You think you can just dictate our lives?" William continued, stepping forward, his voice steady. "I'm not going to let you bully us into pretending this doesn't exist. I love my mom, and there's nothing you can say that will change that." "Love doesn't look like this," Daniel spat, gesturing between them. "You're playing with fire, both of you, and it's going to get someone hurt." Sylvia's heart pounded in her chest. "Daniel, please. Let's just talk about this calmly. You're not listening. Let the neighbors not hear this." "Calmly," he echoed, his voice rising again. "How can I be calm when my wife is in a relationship with our son?" The room fell silent. William's fist trembled slightly as he stood, ready to face the consequences. "I will not hide who I am or who I love," he declared, his eyes fierce with determination. "I won't let you tear us apart." Daniel's expression twisted in anger. "This is nonsense. You're both delusional. I can't let this continue." "Then maybe you need to reevaluate what family means," William shot back. "If you can't accept my love for Mom, then maybe you're the one who doesn't understand our family." The confrontation escalated, with emotions raw and tempers flaring. Daniel shouted, demanding they both leave the house, but William stood firm. "No, I'm not going anywhere. This is my home too, and I have a right to be here, because I know who I love." In that heated moment, Sylvia felt a surge of pride for William's bravery, but also fear for what would come next. She reached out, wrapping her arms around William, feeling their hearts beat together in defiance. However, the confrontation took a turn for the worse when Daniel, shaken but resolute, stepped back, his expression hardened. "I can't let this continue. I will not stand by and watch you ruin our lives like this." "You can't just dictate our feelings, Dad," William shouted, frustration echoing in his voice. "You're not listening to me." Daniel's face twisted in pain, anger. "Then maybe it's time for you to go somewhere far away. I think leaving this house, this town, would be best for you, William. You need space to think," he argued, his tone brokering no debate. "What do you mean?" William's heart sank, dread creeping into his chest. "Are you saying you're sending me away?" "Yes," Daniel said firmly. "I've arranged for you to study in another country." "You need to distance yourself from your mother? This is for your own good." William's world felt like it was collapsing around him. "You can't do this. You're trying to take me away from her." "Maybe that's exactly what you need." Daniel's voice rose again, frustration spilling over. "This fantasy you have with your mother isn't healthy, and I won't let you be a part of it anymore." Sylvia stepped forward, panic igniting in her heart. "Daniel, please, we can fix this. You don't have to send him away." She felt helpless, her worst fears coming to life. But Daniel refused to budge. "This is happening, Sylvia. You've both crossed the line, and now it's time for William to learn what real life is without that." that bond. His voice was unyielding, but William's anger fled, and he felt tears of frustration welling in his eyes. "This isn't fair," William shouted, feeling betrayed. "You're tearing me away from the one person I love the most." The passion in his voice clashed with the heavy weight of reality. Daniel's expression softened for a moment but hardened again. "You're a bright young man, and you've got so much potential. You can't waste it here like this. Going to study in another country is what's best for you, far away from the distractions." Sylvia felt her heart break at her son's anguish. "William, please understand," she urged, her voice trembling. "This is all happening so fast, but I will always love you, no matter where you go." William turned to Sylvia. Pain reflected in his eyes. "I don't want to go, Mom," he protested, his voice cracking with emotion. But deep down, he knew he was fighting against forces much greater than himself. As Daniel began making calls to finalize William's departure, Sylvia felt a sense of helplessness. She reached out to William, pulling him into a tight embrace. "I'm so sorry this is happening," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You mean everything to me." William hugged her back, feeling their bond in that single moment, realizing that while he was being forced away, the love they shared would never fade. "I'll come back for you, Mom," he promised, determination flickering in his eyes. As days went by, William prepared for his departure, but the thought of leaving Sylvia haunted him. The morning of his flight arrived, the atmosphere thick with unspoken words and last chances. At the airport, Sylvia stood with William, desperately holding on to the moments that would soon become memories. "Promise me you'll take care of yourself," she said, feeling the weight of her heart in her throat. "And remember, my love for you will never change." "Mom, I don't want to leave you," William replied, his voice thick with emotion. "This isn't how it's supposed to be." As he walked toward the boarding gate, he turned back one last time, locking eyes with Sylvia. "I'll find a way back to you," he vowed, a promise that lingered in the air like an unbroken thread between them. With a heavy heart, Sylvia watched him go, knowing that the distance would be hard, but the love they shared would endure, no matter the miles separating them. And as William stepped onto the plane, he felt a part of him was left behind, tethered to the woman he loved. He would fight to come back, to reclaim their bond and redefine their love, no matter the challenges that lay ahead. As William reached his destination abroad, a mix of excitement and homesickness swirled within him. The bustling campus was alive with energy, but he felt a constant tug toward the memories of his mother, Sylvia. Late at night in his new dorm room, he'd often pick up his phone, yearning to hear her voice. "Hey, Mom," he said one evening, his voice soft and full of longing. "Hi, William," Sylvia replied, her voice instantly soothing his restless heart. "How are you settling in?" "It's different here. It's nice, but I miss you," he admitted. The familiar warmth enveloped him with the memory of their closeness. "Just remember, I'm always a call away," Sylvia reassured, her tone gentle yet filled with an underlying tension that always seemed to bubble between them. "You'll find your rhythm." As they spoke, the intimacy of their previous relationship simmered close to the surface. William's thoughts wandered, and he found himself whispering sometimes, "I think about you, about us." A thrill shot through him, mixing excitement and guilt. Sylvia paused, feeling the tension curl in her stomach. "William," she said softly, "you need to focus on your studies and meeting new friends. Maybe getting a girlfriend would help." "Mom, it's not that easy," he said with a sigh, but deep down he sensed she was right. The urge he felt for her remained intense, but he knew that living in those feelings wouldn't lead anywhere good. "Just give it a try," she encouraged, her voice soothing yet firm. "You need someone your own age. It could help you, chill out a bit." With Sylvia's words lingering in his mind, William made an effort to engage more with those around him. He explored campus life, joining clubs, attending parties, and slowly opening himself to new friendships. That's when he met Annabelle, a girl from his department, with bright laughter and a vibrant spirit. Annabelle was everything William needed to distract himself from his feelings for Sylvia. They quickly developed a connection, sharing late-night study sessions and coffee dates filled with easy conversation. William found himself laughing more, forgetting for moments the weight of his past. As weeks turned into months, his life began to shift. The intense longing he felt for Sylvia started to fade, transforming into fond memories rather than burning desires. William and Annabelle's relationship blossomed, filled with innocent kisses and comforting hugs. He learned to embrace the thrill of being young and in love, slowly allowing himself to heal. Meanwhile, Sylvia focused on rebuilding her own life back home. With William's departure, the weight of their past began to lift, allowing her to reconnect with Daniel. Their discussions, once heavy with confrontation, grew lighter. They began navigating their family dynamics anew, embracing the space William's absence created for healing. "I'm proud of him," Sylvia said one evening as they shared a quiet dinner together. "He's really trying to move on." Daniel nodded, a sense of relief washing over him. "And you're both finding your way." "That's what matters," he replied, reaching for her hand, intertwining their fingers as a promise of renewed commitment. Back with William, life began to feel less heavy. He still called Sylvia, but now their conversations felt different. While there was still affection, it was now filled with encouragement, laughter, and fond reminiscences, not the intensity it once held. "Mom, I might take Annabelle to a concert next week," William announced during one of their phone calls, excitement palpable in his voice. "That sounds great. Just have fun and enjoy being young," Sylvia replied, her heart swelling with pride. As William and Annabelle explored their relationship, the love he felt for his mother shifted from desperation to gratitude. He recognized the beauty in his upbringing while embracing the new life he was crafting for himself. Eventually, William realized that stepping away had not only given him space, but had also allowed both him and Sylvia to heal from the complexities of their earlier bond. As months passed, William thrived in his new environment, becoming more confident and independent. And finally, with both the distance and newfound relationships, Sylvia and Daniel found the chance to rebuild their marriage, stronger and more united than before. Their shared love for William became a bond that tied them together, supporting his journey as they embraced their own. It was a new beginning for their family, promising growth, healing, and the power of love in all its forms. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.